that was another area we used this in. We had another IP that was um, an email server that needed to get updated, and I
Mm.
used this tool to update those quickly. I was given a license through a previous engagement, and then when I started freelancing on my own, I immediately just bought my own license because it was that valuable to me. So I don't even remember if I really looked at the website other than to figure out how to pay.
Okay, well, let's get going. All right, this is first DevCast of the year, is that right?
I think so.
Also, our first DevCast with Nick. Welcome, Nick. These are, pretty relatively casual recordings we do for a podcast, and we are glad to have you. So welcome.
Yeah, good to be here.
Um, Today. We are going on a kind of a casual look at some of the tools that we like to use, while we do our dev work. All of us are working on, for the most part, different projects, and we all kind of have our ways of doing things. At this point, we use the tools that help us get the job done a little bit faster and more efficiently, while also still having a pretty good understanding of what the changes need to be made, or in the case of a bug fix, we need to kind of do deep dives on everything that's in that within that small scenario, right? And so these dev tools help us figure out all of our reference points and kind of get a general idea of what's failing when. Um, so we're just kind of let's do a free form chat about what tools we use. I know I've said this in the past, but I'm a big fan of the FMPerception products, or all the proof guy stuff. So FMPerception is kind of my go-to. Really, I live in that more than most code bases these days, or most. I live in FMPerception more than the actual solution itself. When I'm diving into stuff, it helps me have a better picture of what I need to do, how something is currently working, and how I can tie it all together for especially for new features and bug fixes. It's so helpful. Oftentimes, FM Perception will let me see things like a misspelling, or a reference that should be used that isn't, or vice versa. I have my own workflows and how I use FM Perception, but I'm excited to see how other people kind of use that, on a day-to-day basis. And there are some people, hopefully, who will learn something and see, by seeing how somebody else does something really simple. Um, so Nick, I know you use base elements a lot. Um, and you were saying you kind of prefer that over FM Perception, is that right?
Yeah, by a huge amount.
Yeah,
Um,
nice.
I may be one of like the very few FileMaker devs that, works mostly on Windows. So that may have something to do with it. Like FM Perception is compatible with Windows, but at least for me, in my experience, what happens is it'll crash all of the time when I'm looking
Uh,
at a larger or more complex solution. Whereas I
Interesting.
don't have that problem with base elements.
Oh, okay, okay. And then Evan, you say you use 2empower as your kind of your primary tool, is that right?
Yeah, so I do use the FM Perception and just Proof Guy suite as well, but I find myself needing to like do a quick search of a script or a small subset of scripts more often than I need the actual DDRs. So using 2empowerFM is a quicker tool than having to go and open up a DDR or export a fresh one if I don't have one.
Right. Yeah, I for a while there I was a big fan of the 2empower stuff, and I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I kind of slowly found myself using it less, to the point where I removed it altogether, or actually I didn't remove it. I just waited for the next major version update and installed it, and never reinstalled 2empower. So I'd like to see how you use it and maybe make some adjustments to my own workflow. So if you
Right.
want to dive into that first.
Sure. Well, as you guys can see, I've already got the tool up here. So it's at least the way I use it, I'm only using their 2empowerFM for the search functionalities. I know they have some other plugins for printing and SQL injection and stuff like that. But I basically just keep this open on my computer. So I mean, you've got some different preferences here. This is the default quick key for me to open it up. So on my computer, that's Command Option Shift and X. So a little more complicated than just like a Command F. But with it open, if I put the focus on an individual script, I can come here and I can find, I can type in a variable name and find that individually, or I can hit find all and it'll give me a list. Or if I came over
And
here,
find all does everything in the, oh, you can choose all script or this.
yeah.
Oh, okay, nice.
Um, so in this case, if you click into the script, it's only going to search that script. If you click back over here into the main uh, list view, it'll search everything. And just
Yeah.
for brevity's sake, I'm not going to do that right now
Yeah.
because it'll take a while to search all the scripts in this solution. So it's really good for quickly finding, let's say, I mean, you needed this email to see how it was defined. It's quick for finding that. But then the other thing it can do is, let's see if I've got a good place to do this. Um, I don't have a great one here, but you can do find and replaces. So if I had a solution recently where an IP address was hard coded across multiple scripts and we needed to update that IP address. So it was just a matter of coming over here, putting in the variable name that that IP address was assigned to and hitting find all. And then once it found them, I could go script by script, double check it, click into the script, come here and hit find and replace and put in the IP addresses. So it was what turned what we thought would be a several hour process into 15 minutes of the 2 minutes it took to do the replace and then just verifying stuff. It unfortunately doesn't work with variable names. Like it's going to insert it as text. So if you had a calculation in here, like this JSON variable that's being referenced inside this variable, it would replace that JSON variable as just the string JSON, as opposed to actually creating the reference if you needed to update the name for some reason. Um,
Gotcha.
so that's one like shortcoming of this currently, or at least as far as I understand it, it's a shortcoming. Maybe there's a way around it that I don't know. Um, but yeah, so that's what I really use it for. It's just strictly in the script space, finding things quickly, which beyond what you're seeing there, it can help when you're trying to do like just like identifying where a specific message is coming from, like an error code that might not have been captured properly, or an error message. I've had weird custom dialogues pop up and it's like, where is this coming from when there's a 14, 15 script deep call stack and just coming in here and putting in a couple of keywords, you can search it really quickly and make your life a lot easier.
Yeah, man, I don't know why, but I immediately get a whole bunch of like, red flag firing scenarios because of my history with replace field contents. And I love,
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of, in other frameworks, the grep functionality and using replace. I use that all the time. But something about replace all in FileMaker kind of just gives me some warnings. But I do like when that functionality works, it's fantastic.
yeah, I don't care how bulletproof the solution is or the tool is. I'm not one to just blindly trust that either.
Yeah.
So at the very least, I mean, you see what was returned here for just this email variable. I'll go through this and make sure it all looks like what I think it does, what I think it needs to, and then I'll come in here and do a replace on individual ones just to kind of troubleshoot it first.
Nice.
Um, because if you just do that, you should be able to. It's not on the script anymore. But this replace chosen would change, so you'd be able to come and do individual ones. You can select certain ones within it and do replace chosen on just those, and so on.
Yeah.
Well,
So
you're wise to go script by script because with a variable like dollar email, its context could be different from in a given script.
right, I don't know if you were there for my initial example. We had a solution recently where there was a hard-coded IP address that needed to change,
Yeah.
uh, but it was set on variables throughout the solution. So just typing in the IP address here and doing a find on it returned everywhere that it was. And it was a printer IP address, so updating that I knew was going to need to happen everywhere. So just coming here and finding everything and replacing it all in one go was a solution.
Hmm. I wonder, does that work with calculations? Say if you replace the calculation with another version of the same calculation, is
Yeah,
that
it
as
does.
effective?
Well, again, it breaks references with variables, and
Right.
it's been a while since I've done that. I think it will retain like table field definitions in there.
Hmm.
Um, so long as there's more to it than just that. But if you're just trying to insert that, it's going to insert it as a string,
Okay.
which would obviously break it.
Right. Right.
Hey, here's a question. If, say you had send mail script steps, for example, and you had one person's email address hard coded in there, and they had left the company and you were trying to remove them from every send mail step, could you use this to find all of those send mails and update them all at the same time?
Yeah, you could.
Ah,
Hmm.
So yeah, if I needed to come in here and find my own email, you just come in here and do that. Like that would be a viable solution.
but
And it
would
would
Um,
it
would that
would just
actually
update the
update?
send mail script step, like, or it would so it would remove that, say like as if it was set as a string somewhere. But if it's in the send mail script step, it'll even remove that from that script step, huh?
yeah.
It
Dang.
would really.
Oh.
That was another area we used this in. We had another IP that was an email server that needed to get updated, and I
Mm.
used this tool to update those quickly.
And that IP was specified in the step itself, not as a
Yep.
variable, but actually in the
Yeah,
step.
it was actually inside this guy. So going in here and updating this stuff.
Wow.
Interesting. That would have been a game
Wow.
changer.
Yeah, I could see that being very helpful. One of my favorite things about F perception is I can see not only where values are referenced in a script, but if it's like a hide condition in a text object, or if it's a custom function, or all sorts of the sorts of non well non-script use cases. So I do like the idea of being able to see all the references of all possible use cases before I start going through and replacing them. But if you know everything's in a script, this is super handy.
'Cause, yeah, I mean it's the XML, right? So I mean
Right.
Right,
you're
right.
Then if you say replace, it just will replace it with a.
oh, now it's going to give me other errors.
Oh, yeah.
Watch it make a liar out of me now.
Is
I updated it recently
it
and I
because it's
haven't
in
tried
this
that since
script?
the update.
Do
So
you have it in this script? Do you need to change it to all scripts or whatever? Or are you?
no, I actually never changed this.
Yeah.
Um,
What if you changed it from being the blank to just a new
Another IP
IP?
or something. Yeah. Oh yeah.
yep, so there you go. I didn't want to do the blank for some reason.
Oh, it's because it's wrapped in quotes, so it's trying to do quotes inside quotes, and I don't think it knew how to handle that or something.
Yeah,
That
so
makes
there you go.
sense.
That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I mean, you guys are starting to see why I like it. Like for quick finds on stuff, it's much quicker for me personally than trying to make sure I've got a DDR exported and opening that up in FMPerception. But I still do that, right? If I'm trying to, especially when I'm trying to figure out relationships, or call stacks, anything like that, the DDR is king still. This is just a glorified find tool.
Yeah.
I really don't know how it compares to things like the MBS plugin. I've got the MBS plugin, but I have not used it as extensively. I don't, does it have replace capabilities? Do you know?
The MBS plugin?
Yeah,
I'm
like
not
find and
very familiar.
replace? Okay. Um, so yeah, I have always seen 2empower as a very niche tool that nothing else is directly compatible with, not necessarily a replacement over the other ones we're about to discuss.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the MBS tool, where you've got the cursor up there in the MBS search area, you can type in $email and it'll highlight every instance in that script for you, but it doesn't do a replace as far as I know.
Right. And I mean, I love MBS for highlighting the beginning and ends of gates like this,
Hmm.
showing you when variables don't exist sometimes. Sometimes that's a kind of annoying thing when it gets defined somewhere else or
Yeah.
passed in, and it's saying, "Hey, this variable doesn't exist on line 300," when it
Yeah.
really will by that point. Um, I run into that a lot with iterators.
Yeah, I like it. And the MBS plugin, is so versatile because you can use it in a few different ways, even the free one. But the paid one, man, you really get a lot of value in that thing. So there may be a replace in there. I just haven't used it. Um,
I mean, yeah, I have. Unfortunately, my experience with it has been when it was necessary more than just out of curiosity. Like I needed the MBS plugin for some existing solution, right? So I've not gotten the chance to really sit there and play with it to see what all it can do yet.
So Evan, it looks like you have the advanced tool. Is that correct on the 2empower?
Yes.
Okay. So it looks like the non-advanced doesn't have the find all and the replace options that you're displaying here.
Yeah, so this is all the different stuff they offer. Um, oh, that's the other side of it that is huge that I definitely should have called out. Um, Finding a table occurrence on really ugly graphs is a piece of cake with this guy.
Hmm. Tell me more.
So you can come in here. This might not be the greatest file to show that off in. But if you were to come in here and do, let's say barcode is one of them. You can find all the table occurrences, and then if you click on it, it's going to search it until it finds it and highlights that specific table occurrence.
Will it like
So
scroll to it?
That's
yeah, it'll scroll to it. Where it gets really, really like finicky. Well, it's not finicky, is not even the right word. Is if you have a bunch of collapsed table occurrences like this, and that's all you're seeing, this isn't really highlighted very well. And it doesn't always center it in the window. So there's times where I click on, say, barcode generator, and it says it's done searching, that it's on it, but then I'm sitting here trying to figure out where it's actually at in the UI still because it's behind here somewhere or it's off to the side here. So it doesn't do the greatest at like centering it exactly and making it super identifiable. But I mean, it's still light years ahead of trying to search this thing by like manually scrolling through it.
yeah.
Um, and again, I know MBS is here, so how does this work? Does this do basically the same thing?
Basically the same thing, and it literally has the same problem. Now, it doesn't always center it well. If you have something, a table name that is like, concatenated, so your naming convention has multiple tables in the name of the table that you're looking for. It's going to start, actually, to be honest, I'm not quite sure where it starts. It seems random sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, same problem where it doesn't always center it. You kind of have to flip through the next a few times to really figure out where you're at, especially on a massive relationship graph.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I wish I knew of one that made sense to show off for this video right now, where I could show a bigger graph and how it jumps to it, but I don't know of any clients we could do that with.
Well, there's certainly an advantage there of using FileMaker's own built-in tool where you select relationships that are based on select tables that are table occurrences that are based on the same table, which you can do down below, but then you have to still hunt and seek them out.
Right. Right.
There
And
we
then if
go.
you typed in to the MBS, type in like CUS to ALO.
So there, it jumped to the first one it found, but you guys tell me where that's at. Like, if you
Yep.
don't know where it's at,
Yep.
that can be kind of fun to find. So let's go to one that's a little bit more obscure. CUSPI. I imagine I had this there. I did a little bit better of a job highlighting it still.
Yeah.
I would
Type
love to
in
see. Go
type
ahead.
in underscore IVS underscore. Just no underscore in front of it as well. Oh, weird.
So
Why
I
did it
found this
go?
guy. Pretty
Yeah,
subtle.
interesting.
Or if I do a find all, we've got a little bit better of a list
Oh,
here.
that's handy. Can you go to those from that
Yeah,
list?
you just double
Oh,
click whichever one you want.
that's nice.
Nice. Um, so was IVS, was that underscore IVS a individual one, or you just wanting to see all of these?
I just wanted to see, yeah, how many times it'd find it and where it would land on the relationship
Well,
graph.
there you go. There's 54 matches of it, and you can
Yeah.
click on any one of them and it'll jump to it. I would love to
Oh,
see it like add some type of like flashing to these or jump your cursor to it or something. Like you know that
right.
accessibility mode where your cursor will grow
Yep.
for a second, something like that.
Yeah.
Um, that would be beautiful. But yeah, this is exactly what I love this tool for, is just being able to get through these more complicated graphs very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, this will save a ton of time.
Seriously. Yeah.
Can you do this all in the free version, or do you have to get the advanced one?
I paid for this version. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
Okay.
I think they've got a trial. Um, I don't remember. That free version, I think, was fines, but the paid one was the find and replace, if I remember correctly, or something like that. Um,
Looking on their website, I'm not seeing a necessarily free version. The I'm seeing an advanced and a standard. The
yeah,
advanced is the one that has the find all and the replace. Now, I could be incorrect on that, but I'm not seeing like a free. They have
okay,
a free
yeah,
trial,
yeah,
a 30-day free trial, but I'm not seeing necessarily like a free version.
Yeah.
Okay.
right. Yeah, I was given a license through a previous engagement, and then when I started freelancing on my own, I immediately just bought my own license because it was that valuable to me. So I don't even remember if I really looked at the website other than to figure out how to pay.
Think so.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, it is nice, Evan. You said you don't need a DDR for any of that, right? It's just all kind of like MBS plugin where
Yeah,
you down the
exactly.
plugin and then you're working.
Yeah, exactly. That way, like if all you're needing is fines, this is the way to go. You're not worried about outdated DDRs or exporting them or
Yeah.
having to open up DDR windows or anything like that. So it's been really nice for me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. Okay. Well, let's jump into FM perception and base elements. One of the things I was thinking we could do is because, we know both products do very similar things, but in different ways. They have very different interfaces. But what I wanted to do is something like a side-by-side comparison. So like, I'll do a find. So the thing that I use it the most is I'll do a find for either a text object or a function or variables, and then just see everywhere that's referenced, right? Whether it's if it's a function, you'll show it in every hide condition, every conditional formatting, every reference in a script, things like that. But if you're doing things like in a table, you can see all sorts of file names. But man, now I'm thinking I need to replace that workflow with 2empower because seeing a list of them in the relationship graph and being able to go to each one is super handy. Like that would have saved me so many times in troubleshooting stuff. All right, so I've got the DDR pulled up. The DDR is uh, relatively recent. This was created on 5/1/25. Um, I go through different versions of DDRs just as I'm working on some things, and I'm kind of weird about my directories on how so like you can kind of see how I do my directories. I do different DDRs for different versions of the same project and compare them often. One of my favorite features about FMPerception is the fact you can open multiple windows and see two different DDRs of the same solution or even the same DDR side by side. And I can do corresponding finds based on what I'm trying to troubleshoot. Um, and because it's all outside of FileMaker, I don't have to worry about like windows overlaying on top of each other that don't work. And, it's a completely separate solution. And in my experience, it works really, really well in that scenario. There have been times where if I have two or more windows of it open at once, it'll crash, at some point, but it's pretty rare. Okay, so the thing that I use all the time, especially in C system, is finding where all settings are being used. C system has an architecture for custom settings, so it's data-based calculations, and we have a custom function that manages whether it's a Boolean value or whatever the value of the custom function is. Typically, it's Boolean, yes or no, on or off, that kind of stuff. So I'll come into the text search and say, if I'm in seed systems here, we've got a whole list in the developer settings of all the custom functions. And say I want to find everywhere where this or the setting is used. Allocation stop is just a way of stopping certain scenarios if the allocation setting is turned on based on what the allocation setting is for that customer or sales or whatever, what have you. But say I didn't know any of that, and for some reason setting wasn't working as expected. I'd go into FMPerception and just do it. I could do a custom menu search for the STL custom function and then find it that way, and that's sometimes a little bit faster. But this text search is kind of just your blanket search across everything. It takes a little bit longer.
And this is the live file, right? Not the DDR.
It is the DDR.
It is the
Yeah.
DDR.
Yeah.
Interesting.
FM
Yeah.
Perception's always working off the DDR.
Yep.
I thought that was like the advantage of FM Perception was that it could hook into the live database.
No, it uses the DDR, but now the DDR is you can create a DDR pretty fast. And we even have some workflows where we're creating DDRs regularly, so it's just nice to have fresh DDRs for certain solutions. So anyway, so here we have a found set of everywhere this allocation stop setting is used in the solution. This is pretty straightforward. There's only, 7 items found, but the nice thing is we can see or these are all scripts, so that's pretty easy. We can see, kind of get a high level overview of what that script step looks like. And this is in a SQL function. So I'm not going to exactly troubleshoot the SQL function in FMPerception, but this gives me a really good reference, right? And I know exactly where it is. I know where the line is. So that's pretty handy. Now, for example, let's do a little bit a more widely used one. So like one of the hides. Let's do the hide build to. I can come in here, just do a search. for
Might be
the
worth
setting.
it might be worth mentioning that these searches in a lot of FileMaker solutions, these searches would be a lot faster. That seed systems DDR is pretty complex.
Yeah. Yeah. Does base elements access it also uses the DDR, right? It's not
Yep.
okay.
I think the big difference between the two is that the the base elements doesn't require the you to parse the DDR. It's walking through the XML, or it's walking through the DDR in real time,
Yeah.
whereas base elements pre-parses it. I think Inspector, Beeswax's Inspector does the same. They're both parsing it ahead of time, so it takes longer at first, but then you get faster results because you're searching a pre-parsed database. So
Yeah.
I've always kind of liked FMPerception personally because you don't have that extra step of parsing it at first. But I think there's different circumstances where each approach is good.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we've got our found set of everywhere that this setting is used, and you can see it's different types. So you've got buttons, you've got layout objects that are text. There's a whole group of buttons that are using that hide condition. And then if there were scripts in here, it would list them all in the same space. So that way I know I can quickly access, like, oh, I know the script isn't performing as it needs to because of this custom function. So I can just dive in to that script and then figure out what I need to do. But because it puts them all in a list, it makes it really nice to, if I do need to do any replaces, this is an easy way to do it. And then I can, if I really want to go down the rabbit hole, make all the changes and then use FM comparison to make sure I've got everything in the right place and they're matching up the way they're supposed to. So what does that look like in base elements? Like what would you I would like to see the kind of that workflow of how you use it for something similar.
I'm looking at them side by side, and they're largely the same.
Interesting.
What I am noticing, so I was doing the searches at the same time as you were, and base elements is definitely faster because of the pre-processing. But I think John really nailed it with the, different circumstances thing. Like, and it just really depends on how you're using it. Like if you if you don't use it that frequently, like this is an old DDR that I'm working off of here. I'm trying to share my screen so you can see it. An older DDR that I'm working off of, and the way I use it is, if I'm trying to update a certain script or add some new feature and I have a general idea of where to start looking for something, then, I'll go through and kind of search until I find what I need and then go look at it in the live system. Um, or if I know I need to change a certain calculation, same thing as in FMPerception, I can run a quick search for the calculation and find everywhere it's used or everywhere it's referenced. But my general workflow, is to identify like the starting point, in something like this, and then go to the live system and then actually look around. Um, if I were doing something where the system is constantly changing, there's a bunch of developers working on the system at the same time, and you need much quicker snapshots to be monitoring the changes. FM Perception sounds like it'd have the advantage there if it doesn't need a pre-parse. Because this seed system dev file, it took an hour and 11 minutes to pre-parse. Like, granted, this is a huge
Huge.
file.
Yeah.
Like almost every other database I've ever used parsed in 10 minutes or less.
Yeah.
This is just a hugely complicated file.
Yeah.
But if I do something like hide bill to, and I just search for it appear in the quick find, I can see almost the same exact thing that you saw. There's 9 different places where it's used, they're all layout objects. I can click on any one of these. And I can see
Oh,
here's
yeah.
exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
What I do really like though is, and this is one of the things that I couldn't figure out how to do in FM perception. I don't know if you can, and I just couldn't, figure out how to do it, or if it's
Mhm.
just not possible. Because this is all pre-parsed and these are all FileMaker records, basically, every calculation, every script, every step. What you can do, for example, at least before I knew about that 2empower thing, we had to update in a previous company, we had to update like every send mail script step that had a certain hard-coded value in it in like the SMTP settings. So step one, identify all the places that have that script step. So you could do a, send mail to start with. Okay. In this situation, there's 162 script steps. So from here, if I wanted to only have a certain subset, maybe I know for sure that all of the SMTP settings are good, and I'm only interested in the ones that are sending with the local client. I can enter find mode, go in here, type in SMTP, change it to omit, constrain. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's handy.
That's the biggest thing for me, really, was being able to have that kind of access to find very specifically what I'm looking for.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, I wonder if I can do something similar in FM perception. I mean,
Is
I know I can do a flat single find, which is easy, but if I were to give it parameters in the find, yeah, I don't know if it can do. I don't think it can do that. I can filter down, uh, you know, certain things, and I can group things in certain ways, so that way I can the things that I'm primarily concerned about are grouped together. But yeah, I can't really filter down like that, as far as I know.
Mm. Another thing I like, and this may be true of FM perception, but here in base elements, because these are all just records that are imported into a database, I can actually edit them, or this is just text, so if I wanted to, I can, like that script step example, when I was looking at every send mail step and I was going through and updating them one by one. What I could do was start at the top, work my way down, and as I go through them all, I can just change the font color to something different to keep track of what I've done and what I haven't done yet.
Oh, that's handy.
Um, and then, because what you're doing, isn't, I mean, obviously isn't part of the live system, if I afterwards want to then have a fresh import, a fresh copy to work with, you can just re-import that same DDR.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Huh.
Something else that I haven't messed around with too much, but I do like that it gives you these snapshots of where you can find things to improve in the system. So, like for example, there's a large number of objects it thinks are causing performance issues in particular. That you can click on and it'll go into the detail of why and help you like zoom in on those.
Yeah. You can filter down to a certain extent, but in a different way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's interesting. In FM perception, if you go into the specific thing you're looking for and then change your filter to everything, it'll filter your current found set. So if I find all send mails, then I use the text search, which switch to everything, and then type in the thing that I want to narrow it down to. Then it will filter down to those three. But that's the extent of your filter. So
Mm.
yeah, so that is like one level of filtering, or yeah, two, I guess. But yeah, that's interesting. Huh. I do like that of being able to use it as kind of like a checklist, right? Like you can track your progress in your
Mhm.
found set of things. I like how base elements can do that. That's handy.
Yeah, it is.
Sometimes
But
what I'll do is in FMPerception, I'll just copy all of my found set, put it into a text file, and and just marking things off, or just make a checklist based off of that found set.
mm,
Um, Along with that, it is really nice to be able to. So, if FMPerception has the feature where you can copy it directly for FileMaker, so you can click on a result, copy it for FileMaker, and literally paste it into the solution directly from FMPerception.
hmm,
But yeah, being able to filter in that way is pretty and use it in that sort of way is, you can modify, your found set, the data in your found set on the fly. That's handy.
yeah, it really is.
Is there like a notes field as well? Is that what that is on the right?
Yeah, that's right.
I remember when I did use BaseElements, that notes field is super handy.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've used FM perception, so I can't. I'm trying to think of like what the
Right.
differences are, like if much of any. I mean, I kind of thought that FM perception's big advantage was that it worked by hooking into the live system. I didn't realize that it was using DDRs.
Yeah, no, it's based on DDRs.
I don't know why I thought it could hook into the live system.
Yeah, I don't know.
One thing in FMPerception is that you can take multiple DDRs of the same system and run it through a comparison.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep.
This one has something like that too, I think. I haven't actually tried it, so I don't know how well it works, but
Oh, interesting. It's built
uh,
into BaseElements. Like,
yep.
oh, okay.
Oh,
Oh,
yep, there we go.
interesting. Oh, yeah. Huh.
Yep, I haven't tried it before, but
Yeah. Huh. Cool.
let me see what else. I mean, one thing I just really like is and I'm sure this is probably true in FM perception too, but just being able to, if I have a certain field that I think is the one I want to be looking at in order to make a big change, I can take that field and come in here and just, type it in and see what happens with it.
Yeah.
So let me pull up my notes real quick and try to get an actual example. Oh, okay, here we go. Here's a good one. So, I was working on this one ticket where a summary field on a report was not showing the number the client was expecting it to. So, just with that ticket description by itself, that's enough for me to that in the screenshot they helpfully included. Find the layout, go to it, layout mode, see what field it is, and then once I've got that field, I could come over to BaseElements here and just paste in that field. So I know this is my table here. So if I just click on this one, I get this little, top level view of the field. And then I can click on calculation to see exactly what it's doing. Items used will show you that same criteria that you can pull out of the XML if you were to export it. I don't know if you ever
Uh,
actually like look at it before,
yeah.
but it has all these references in there, which is kind of handy because then
Yeah.
here all of those are.
Right.
And then there's no alerts on this. I don't know what that would show if there was, but and then objects is nice because it tells you where you can see that field at.
Right. Right. That's super handy. Yeah. I use that pretty often when I'm like, it says it's on this layout. Where the heck is it?
Yeah, exactly. And then again, this might be something that's in FM perception, but I do like when you're looking at a script, for example, it will give you this version of it where you can see each step on its own line where you can jump to it or jump to the calculation within that step.
Oh,
Or you
nice.
can view the friendly, human readable text that you can
Yeah.
copy and paste somewhere.
That's handy. Oh, I like that, where it just shows your list of parameters.
Oh yeah. Let me go back to that. Yeah, honestly, the tool is probably capable of a lot more than even I know it is, because like
Sure.
I use it in a very certain way, for make sure I'm not going to break anything when I need to make a change. That's probably the biggest one.
Yeah.
And then B, I mean, as we saw from the front here, this system is what, 1,000 something layouts, 1,000 something scripts. It's huge. I mean,
Yeah.
so for me to step into this solution and, even with that starting point of knowing what that field is to try and track down where it's used or what it's even doing, like it would take, I could spend a year doing one ticket.
Right.
But with this, I can just kind of identify the key portions of the database pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is pretty interesting how you use it versus how you use base elements versus how I use FMPerception are really very similar.
In a way, like
Hmm.
I do like like this, field, for example, when I searched it, and I'm, like in the circumstance when I was trying to use it, where I've got this ticket I'm trying to solve and I don't know what this field even is, let alone, what half of the solution is doing.
Right.
And um so I could come in here and I could, click on the field, and then from within the tool here, I can, inspect uh the the field, where it's used, look at all the relationships that
Mhm.
that table has to every other table. I actually prefer to look at all that in the database itself.
Yeah.
I like to use this to give me a starting point, or at least where the starting points are. But then once I have those, I prefer to go back into the database and step around myself, because when you're trying to learn a new system, sometimes having all of that thrown at you, getting the bigger picture of how everything works is a lot more valuable than getting the little filtered view.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
agreed.
for identifying what's going to break when you change something, this you can't beat something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. I think this kind of, just puts the defining use case, like every developer needs a tool like this. Whether you're using base elements or FMPerception, or I haven't used Inspector Pro, but like these have become invaluable to how we do research, into our solutions, especially when you're working on so many different ones at the same time.
I don't, for some of the solutions that we inherit and have to support, I don't know how we would do it effectively without one of these.
Right.
I don't know if FMPerception has this, but it's kind of handy. Just being able to look at a script, and then if it's got subscripts that it calls, being able to actually include that subscript right in the same view of the parent
Yeah,
script.
that's nice. FMPerception cannot do that. It does make it pretty easy to look at, subscripts being called. And then you can open new windows and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, you cannot see it in line.
Mm.
FMPerception also has a visual representation of the script chain.
Yes. Yep.
I don't know if this does. Admittedly, I've never really looked before. That's usually the kind of thing that I'd like to just have the debugger open and step through things where I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It'd be interesting to dive in a little bit harder on and include Inspector at some point.
Yeah. Do we know anybody, or do we have anybody on the team who uses Inspector regularly?
I know I used Inspector in the past. We used to have a license, and it seemed very similar to what Nick was showing, base elements wise. We're showing errors, showing the relationships, where's reference, clicking around seemed very similar and dashboardy.
I think in the very latest Inspector version, they're adding some more capabilities that rely on some newer features in FileMaker. Might be interesting to try and take a look at those at some point. But they're more related to like team development, I think. I really don't know that much about them, but I think it would be interesting to look at that.
Yeah. One last question about base elements. Because it's essentially using FileMaker as your UI for viewing the solution DDR, is it still, can you have the solution open at the same time and base elements of the same in the same instance the FileMaker, or do you have to run two separate
No,
instances?
you can do it's like a separate database. So
Oh,
like just like
okay.
opening any other two files.
Yeah. So
Um,
if you have the relationship graph open on the solution, can you also interact with base elements?
I don't.
Oh,
Can you do that with? I don't think you can do that with other FileMaker files, can you?
No, that's what I'm saying.
No.
Yeah.
Like I don't think you can interact with other FileMaker files if you have like the DD or the relationship graph open.
Yeah, no, you can't
That
do
was
that.
always
Yeah.
my biggest uh, not like complaint. I understood why it worked that way because it's how FileMaker works. But if you could see them side by side, it'd be really handy to be able to search things in the relationship graph outside of having that graph open. And that's where FM perception, at least for me, it's where really allows me to, you know, flush out all of my research on a DDR, is by having them completely separate. So it's kind of
Mhm.
nice.
Joe, on FM perceptions, do you have the like error code? So things that is saying it's an error alerts and stuff like that, kind of similar to this dashboard.
It's a separate report that you can run, but
Okay.
yes, you can see those. And then there's also a report card, which is like a higher level overview of all sorts of, warnings and, the health of the solution. Then you can drill into that, and it starts to get, you know, really, yeah, there's a lot to pack in. And I know there are tons of features that I have not even touched in event perception, but yeah, there are ways to get that data pretty quick.
And, given if you're drilling down into a field, it'll show you broken references and everything else as part of a
Yeah.
list of uh, inheritances.
Yeah.
Oh, Nick, when you uploaded seed systems into base elements while it was parsing, it didn't lock up the rest of FileMaker for the full hour, right? You're still able to go in and do work and all that, or
I'm don't remember to be honest. Um, Let me just do a quick import and see what happens. So the answer is yes, it does lock it up, but I'm not sure if it's because it's just doing so much pre-processing that the whole, FileMaker program is locking up, or if it's actually because, you're locked out while it's doing something.
right?
Uh,
Right.
I don't know why it would lock you out. It's not like it's doing a long-running import.
I know that if you run inspector locally, it will lock you out while it's doing all the scripting stuff. But if you host it on a instance of FM server, you can shunt all the processes to PSOS and then just continue doing your work
Oh
that way.
yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I bet the same thing would work here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's handy.
Something else that's cool actually that I just thought of with base elements. It's kind of a limited use sort of thing. Sort of have to get creative with it, but you can export your data that you find, so
Yes.
um like a certain script back in the day, what I had done was there was a script that was maybe a couple hundred lines long. So what I did was export the simplified text version of the script steps
Yeah.
and then include the metadata, like whether it's active or disabled, and what script name and script ID. And then from there, you could do some additional processing to it in a different program if you wanted to. You could open it in Excel, or what I did was a Python script that actually graphed it, so I could see a flow chart of how it was running.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah,
Now I
that
can just pull that directly out of the XML, but uh,
right.
back in the day, that was before I started learning the XML. That was
Yeah.
how I was getting that data.
Yeah. Yeah, and in FM perception you can export to CSV and also HTML. So you can actually do some post processing to it if you want to, which is kind of handy. Um But yeah, there is the fact that you can copy straight out of FMPerception into a FileMaker solution is probably one of my favorite features. Uh, but yeah, I could see use case scenarios. Man, I'm starting to think of all the different ways I could use them both together, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That copying thing I really like. And maybe if it worked on Windows, I'd be on the FM perception train.
Right.
But yeah, that's one of
Right.
those things that any of the different tools that has that capability to copy to or from FileMaker straight into it, or back or forth.
Yeah.
None of it works on Windows.
Ah, that's fascinating. Hmm.
No idea why, because I was
Yeah.
able to reverse engineer the little memory chunk they put in front of the actual XML. And if you alter your clipboard, with like a specialized injector to put that little memory block in there, then you can
Gotcha.
pass, no problem.
Yep. Yep. Fascinating.
Yeah,
Huh.
good stuff.
You can, as a tip, I just learned this.
Mm.
If you hand code in another application your script steps and then you give it to ChatGPT and tell it to give it to you as XML, then you can paste it back into FileMaker as a
Hmm.
script.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've heard of people doing that when
You
they're
know
like
what?
vibe
I
coding things and
I think it's something with, I mean, because you're doing that on a Mac, right?
Yeah.
I think it's something because I tried doing something similar to that. I tried copying like actual XML, like just almost like a straight copy of the XML export. Alter one thing and then paste a piece of it back in, and had Gemini verify that it was written correctly, and should be pastable, but can't do it. And it
You need,
must be something that Max inserts, or
you,
not insert, but the
no,
clipboard memory format.
you,
yeah.
you need the Monkey Bread software. You need Monkey Bread installed.
Oh.
That's what handles the pasting. It's a special kind of paste that Monkey Bread converts the XML to the script steps.
Oh.
Interesting.
So it should work on Windows. I haven't tested
Yep.
it.
With that plugin, probably.
Yeah.
Uh, but I accidentally recreated what Monkey Bread's doing.
Yeah.
I did want to, when you were doing the relationship graph searching, Monkey Bread will also give you a list of results if there are multiple things with that contain that name. You just have to pull down the drop down menu. There's like the search
Yeah.
box has a drop down, and then you can
Yeah.
jump to those.
Mm.
Yeah, that is handy. You do have to remember where you're at every time you select, an item in the drop down, but it's still super handy.
And there is a new search feature with Monkey Bread where if you put something in the search bar in the script workspace, and then you start clicking through all of your other scripts, it will highlight that whatever you were searching on in other scripts.
Mhm.
So,
Hmm.
it's not as elegant as what you were demonstrating, but in a pinch, if you knew you had a folder full of scripts that were essentially doing the same thing, but you were looking for one specific script step or something, you could just manually go through and they would just highlight the word would be highlighted in your script.
Yeah, I might have to get a copy of that.
It is free, unlike all these other tools, although I think, yeah, it's free.
MBS, yeah, the MBS plugin is the free version has limited uses, but it still has a lot for being a free plugin. The paid one has like so many functions. It's awesome. Christian, the guy who writes this and maintains it, and he is adding things all the time and is really just wonderful about support and things like that. So
Okay, let's see here.
yeah, so just open up anything,
Open
but
the scripts, I guess. It should have the MBS thingy up at the top if it's in, right?
If you're in scripts, yeah. Well, yeah. MBS search. Whoa.
Yep. Then we got MBS search in there, so that's cool.
Where is it? Like, where's your?
Yeah, there should be like a toolbar.
Oh, what are you copying?
I don't know. I just hit MBS script search.
Oh,
I don't know what
yeah.
it's doing.
I would stop that. It's a lot. Uh,
I expect that there's probably different behavior between if they have implemented a Windows version of these free plugins, that the behavior is probably a little bit different because MBS did tap into the OS of Mac to do its business.
right.
Probably an alternative method that he's utilizing to try to replicate that on Windows. But I don't know what that is.
Go to your settings again, because you think you might have to turn some features on. So if you go to your FileMaker preferences and then plugins. Oh, we gotta wait a sec. Yep.
I just want to see if anything shows up here.
Search function
Yeah,
here.
no search in there, but I think we have to enable it in the setting
Yeah,
plugins in the settings for that plugin. So yeah, go to preferences or settings, plugins, click on the plugin, go to configure. Okay, here's the
Yeah, they're all on.
Oh, they are enabled. Yeah.
Hmm.
There's a lot less here than in the Mac version.
There are things such as coloring font sizes and things like that, which I think is missing.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I saw someone doing a demo with this installed. I saw that syntax highlighting in the script workspace and was like, oh my God, I want that.
Yeah.
Installed this, realized it wasn't compatible, and went, get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. Understandable. Yeah, that's a huge game changer for me.
Mm. Well, one of the things I do now is there is a extension in Visual Studio Code for FileMaker syntax highlighting.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've seen it. Yep. So yeah, I'll just paste calculations in there and way easier to work with.
That's super handy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
cool. Well, that was fun. I should do it for today.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks everyone.
Cool.
Thank you for spending your time with us at the FileMaker DevCast today. We hope you found something useful, something thought-provoking, and something to take into your own development approach. Things to help you be more productive and to allow you and your teams to get more done in less time. You can find us online at portagebay.com and filemakerdevcast.com. Also, follow us on our social media accounts at Portage Bay or at FMDevCast. Please let us know if we can help you or your company with modernizing your approaches and streamlining your workflow. We look forward to seeing you during the next DevCast.